Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to do a bit of a walk around of this 1982 Volkswagen Rabbit pickup. If you remember from earlier video series on the channel, this is a truck that came to me with a ABA swapped into it. It was OBD1. It had the Mark III harness from the donor cart. You know, if you wouldn't mind, I'm doing something. Anywho, had an OBD1 ABA swapped in that was an old build where they married the harness to the Westmoreland Sorry guys, this is going to be kind of long-winded at this rate. Anywho, had a married harness, looked like crap, swap was ugly, so we took it all out. So let's go over what we did. We put hood struts on it, which was a great improvement, but what we're looking at now is a complete OBD2 swap. It has CE2... Does anybody want a rooster? Anyways, it has all the CE2 wiring from a Mark III, and it's all tucked in here pretty tidy, so you don't have to really look at it, but it's here. And what I've gone and done is this. What we have done here is actually kind of the everything package. So when this car came in, it had a quote-unquote refreshed ABA in it. It was supposed to be dual valve springs, OBD1 block with the oil squirters, all that fun stuff, and it turns out it was none of that. So what we've done is this. We sent the block and the cylinder head to my favorite machine shop, and we had them pretty much work the whole thing. So with this engine we have what looks like a Mark IV motor, but in fact it is an ABA. This motor is, I believe, a 96 engine. It was supposed to be from a 93 or 4 or 5, something like that, but it definitely isn't. So we have no oil squirters. This engine here is a OBD2 ABA. So it does not have oil squirters. It did not have dual valve springs in the head. And now it has a lot of good stuff. So what we've done with this is, instead of being a normal 83mm motor, it's punched out 0.5 millimeter to 83.5, which yields us a 2044 cc engine versus the standard 1984 cc's. So marginally bigger at 2.05 liters, more or less, and more or less that just gives us good driving characteristics. So what I ended up doing was this. The pistons were built for 10.5 or 10-to-1 compression based on Wiseco's chart. However, because the cylinder head was pretty much a virgin head, when we CC'd everything out, it came up to just a hair under. So what we ended up doing was getting a head gasket from Turbonetics that, instead of being 60 thousandths compressed like a stock gasket I believe would be, it is 80 thousandths compressed. So that nets us a final compression ratio of about 9.4 to 1, which is a little higher than normal ABA turbos, but it is lower than stock compression. So it is safe yet effective. So this car drives pretty much like a normal 2-liter, and then it has party mode, obviously, bolted onto the back here. So on the back, you'll see we've got a Turbonetics ball bearing turbocharger back here, which works really well. I actually have the diverter valve hidden back here, so it's nice and stealthy, and it's pretty straightforward. So what I ended up doing was converting to a Mark IV manifold for A, flow, B, aesthetics, and C, functionality of the engine bay. So what ended up happening was this pipe here was the original inlet to the turbocharger. So that 90 faced that way, and this pipe was longer. I didn't like how that was set up, and it kind of made some backwards stuff. So what I ended up doing was shortening that pipe, connecting it to the throttle body as you see it, and then we rerouted this pipe and had it re-welded and adjusted so that way it goes out of the turbo, into the intercooler that you can't see, back into the manifold. Beautiful. And then our intake pipe, it's kind of hard to see, but what you'll notice is it actually snakes right along the timing belt cover there and goes into our turbocharger nice and tidy. So the idea with this whole build was what I like to call OEM plus. It's a term a lot of Volkswagen people seem to throw around, and it's one that I'm quite fond of. So when you look in this engine bay, it looks like a fairly normal 2-liter. Obviously it has extra pipes on it, so you can tell something's a little funky, but I've tried my best to use all the factory things that I could to keep this thing looking as normal as possible. So for instance, I trimmed the engine cover to fit over that coolant hose. We trimmed the engine cover here to clear this boost pipe. Just things like that to keep this nice and tidy. Factory elbow for the Mark IV goes down to our catch can. So there's a lot of good stuff going on here, but the wire harness is all tucked. It's not shaved. This is not a shaved bay. This is mostly a tucked bay. Don't mind over there, I didn't paint that because it had a battery tray there, so it just stayed ugly. Customer's good with it, we're good with it. But that's pretty much under the hood. So let's go look inside, because it's hard pressed to see what we did here, and that was kind of the point. So if we jump inside here, the first thing you'll notice is we got a wideband hiding here in the vent, and what we actually used for that is a Innovate SCG1. So this is a boost controller and a wideband all in one. So this kind of covers all of our bases. And then up here, we have a Mark III gauge cluster grafted in here, and as you will notice, it's centered, it's even, and it looks pretty at home. Yeah, it cuts off some of the gauges, but not in any way that you would care. What's nice about that is the fuel gauge works, everything is proportional. So we got our RPM gauge, everything works, it's digital, life is great. Got a couple extra gauges for bonus information here, which is always good to have. And other than that, it's a Mark I in here, you know, there's no radio, he didn't want one, and everything's pretty much as it were, and that's that. So let's go ahead and make sure this is in neutral. Where's the key? And we'll fire this thing up here. Let's see if that'll hold. And yes, it has all of its factory warning lights in place. And no, it does not have an engine light because it runs correctly. So this engine does have a cam in it, so it idles a little bit lumpy, but we got great oil pressure, we got good vacuum for this camshaft based on what Tectonics calls for. So let's look at the rest of this truck real fast. It's got a sweet dual exhaust on it, sounds pretty good. And otherwise, like I said, it's pretty much normal. The idea with this truck was to just keep it looking like stock, but a little spicier. Yeah, she runs good. A lot of vibration from the engine mounts, but you know, what else do you expect? Great running little truck. Just takes a minute to idle down when it's cold, but it'll get over itself momentarily. Alright, so let's go take a spin. And yes, everything vibrates like crazy. Just like that, it's a pretty normal running car. There we go, now I can see again. Alright. Put a little bit of heat on. And we're cruising right along. Good cruising vacuum. AFR looks great. And we're just, you know, moseying right along here. So, as you'll notice, it is a pretty typical Mark I here. You drive along and that's just what you get. So once this thing gets a little temperature in it, we'll do a pull or two and we'll show you how it runs. Because it's pretty good, if I do say so myself. So, hang tight. Get back with you in just a minute once it warms up. Well, I'm hoping you guys will be able to hear okay, because it is admittedly quite vibrating in here, but if you look at the AFR gauge here, you'll see we're running pretty close to stoic at all times. So this has a reflect tuning chip in it. And honestly, it runs pretty good. That's third gear and it knocks the tires off because it's a little moist outside. it's really quite a hoot to drive this car. Sure does run nice. And that's just 10 pounds of boost. So now we're in second gear. Second into third, anyhow. We'll roll back into it in a sec. And now, I do want to point out that I've not really been full throttle because this is a customer car. I do have to make sure the bugs are worked out of it and it doesn't have any strange kinks to it, but I also am not going to beat the hell out of somebody else's car like that. So it may sound like it, it's not. So anyways, back to cruising. Good AFR, good vacuum, terrific oil pressure. Honestly, super solid truck. It's an absolute joy to drive. The only thing I don't like, actually, is the manual brakes, which you may have noticed in the under the hood portion of this video. They don't feel great. They don't work as well as a booster setup would, but whatever. Not my car. It's not what he wanted, so I did what he wanted. So this is third gear. Roll into it. Yeah, so while it is not the fastest car on earth, it is way faster than any Mark 1 should probably ever go, because like, you hit something, you're just gonna die. I mean, there's really no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You're done. Like, you hit something at speed in this car, smoked. Nothing you can do. So let me get back to the shop real quick and we'll just go over it once more and that'll be that. All right, so now that we're back, we're just gonna let this idle down for a minute, make sure the turbo cools off adequately. We'll just see how we're looking here. And as expected, we're looking good. Looking good. Terrific. So yeah, guys, this is the ABA Turbo Rabbit truck. Everything is finally finished. It's about ready to go home to the customer. And, well, I hope for the few of you that watched the build series, I hope you learned a little bit or got some inspiration, or, I don't know, it was at least generally helpful for somebody. I know I had a great time building it, and it's definitely a really fun project to have finished up, and it's a great car to drive. So if you have one of these, consider putting an ABA turbo in it, or a 1.8 turbo. Heck, do whatever you want, but whatever you do, just build something cool, you know? Life's too short to drive boring cars, so build something that looks boring, but runs like hell. It confuses and surprises a lot of people, and it's a great time, that I can tell you. So, thanks for tuning in, everybody. I guess I'll have this up in time, so Merry Christmas, and hope everybody has a great holiday. Thanks for watching. See you next time.